And, yeah. So, I was sitting here thinking about a lot of stuff was going through my mind and what I was going to say when I was writing down because then I think about myself.
Closer to the mic, please.
Yeah, see, are you?
Yeah.
So, the drug industry, I don't know what to say about it. It's just so pervasive right now. The state has used drugs as a form of control for a long time, and it's using it as a form of control right now. What I want to talk about is the propaganda and how people perceive drug users. So when you had just said, we need to have drug users come on and drop all that stuff. Before 1900, when people used drugs, they weren't considered any kind of deviant. It wasn't a thought. Since the 1900s, we've had the industry of psychiatry, big pharma, all these things where drugs are just poured at us. Ever since I was a kid, I remember my mom telling me, don't you ever do drugs? You ever do drugs? And I don't want you in my house, and yada yada yada. And it's in our movies, in our media, in our news. We're inundated with it every day. How a bad person like me who does drugs or had done drugs or whatever. You have to watch out for me because I'll be in a bush, and when you come by, I'll jump out and grab you first. And it has done so much to separate the people that I don't know if we could ever get back. And I'm a pretty positive person, but it's so ingrained in our society about how bad people are who do drugs, but we don't talk about how bad people are who go home and drink and beat the shit out of their family, right? Yeah. Or who get in their car, drink, and kill somebody. I mean,
or who build weapons that are sent around the world.
The state uses drugs to fight wars in other countries that they want to control the people and control the resources. I mean, this is all hypocrisy, and sometimes I get so fucking pissed off with it. It's just, we got to look at people as people, and then, like Ina says, we got to ask the reason why people use drugs. I remember when I was a kid and I watched Neil Armstrong step out of that spaceship on the moon, and that's what I wanted to be. I didn't realize the whole, how big everything was, but that's what I wanted to be, I wanted to go and go to the moon and go into space. Unfortunately, life got in the way and something happened, and here I am. But I don't hold any bad thoughts to it or anything like that. I think it made me a better and a strong person for what I went through. But that doesn't mean I'm a bad person. I still have my morals and my ethics and my morality. I use drugs as a way of being able to deal with myself because I couldn't deal with what happened, and to deal with other people. And that's what most people who use drugs for. It's a way to cope with yourself, to cope with life. And you have the state on the other side telling everybody else and your parents that you're a deviant. You're going to be stealing, you're going to rape women and do all kinds of things. And, we have to really use our own brains and ask questions. One thing I'm really grateful for my parents for, they told me, never be satisfied with anything. Always ask questions and always do your own research. And I think that it's coming to a head now with the drugs, and people are starting to ask questions. Unfortunately, it's taken the death of several thousand people in the last few years for people to start coming around and start asking questions as to what's going on with this. If people who are criminals are bringing the drugs in, how are they getting the drugs in, and where is it coming from, and how is it being done? Because I'll tell you one thing, it ain't coming in from the east side. Because people on the east side don't have money to bring in this shit. So who's bringing it in? Not the poor people. You don't have the connections, you don't have the money to bring it in. So how's it getting in here and why is it here? This stuff has been going on for years, for the last 100 years. You know, the state has always used drugs as a way of demonizing a set of people, separating people, and quite honestly, using the money to wage war, as I said before. And one of the wages of war is on the poor people. Our prison system, the last few years, we keep hearing StatCan say that violent crime is down. Well, if violent crime is down, why do we have new prisons being built in Ontario, where I'm from? They got rid of all the jails and built an American-style penal system where they have these super jails. So you could house in one complex 5,000 people, 2,000 people, and who are in the jails? Poor people on drug charges, possession charges. Most people are here possession charges, and that's it. So we've created a whole new industry, the penal system, big pharma, and then the separation of the community. You got one set of people, the majority of the people, the power people, so the Europeans who have been in power, these old men who have nothing better to do than to play games with people's lives and demonize black people, Mexicans, Chinese, you know. I talked about Thursday about Queen Victoria who waged war on China because the emperor outlawed opium that the English were bringing in from India because his people were being were getting messed up. So here's a state waging war on another state who wants to stop the spread of drugs. You know, we have some really intelligent people, but when they start using certain things, it just boggles my mind. The medical system is another one. If you're in the east side, ambulance drivers are trying to tell you you have no choice but to go to St. Paul's, which is crap. You can go to any hospital you want, but at St. Paul's, because they find out you come from the east side, all of a sudden you're not a person. And you know, I've had stories of people in our organization who, one fella, he ended up in a hospital in the nighttime. We found out he was from the east side. They kicked him out in the middle of the night. He ended up getting robbed, and he ended up back in the hospital that night. You know, I don't know how many people. I'm not a conspiracy person by any means. I think about things quite long before I say them. But since I've been in downtown east side for about 13 years, I can't give you a number of the people who I think their deaths were totally just done by the hospital kicking them out in the middle of the night because they live in the east side, or they've been told to lie down, or not lie down, sit down in the waiting room for 15 hours and they just walk past you and while they deal with other people because you're from an area. You know, these are the sort of things that, I don't know if I'm trying to put them together, but you have an area like the downtown east side, and if you lived there and you didn't do drugs, pretty soon you will do drugs, because once people find out you're from there, they treat you totally different. And now why is that? Where is that coming from? And why are we so susceptible for that?